Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Saturn Return Diaries podcast. My name is Courtney. I am your host. I am just putting on a beautiful background so you can see my vibe on YouTube. If you guys are not aware, we do have a YouTube channel, so you can watch these. Obviously, they're all done on Zoom. But feel free to come over and subscribe at Saturn Return Diaries on YouTube. But if you're listening to me in your ears, if you're going for a walk, if you're at home, if you're in your car, hello. I feel honored to be here with you. And oh my gosh, y'all, you guys. Okay, it's July 11th, first of all, and I just opened my phone. I'm recording this on July 11th, and it's literally 11:10 a.m. I'm like, universe, I'm waiting for 11:11. No, in all seriousness, I've been seeing 11:11 so much recently. I don't know if you guys have as well. But something that I wanted to say before I saw the time was I was actually on Spotify the other day and I was just, oh, it's 11:11. Make a wish. I was looking up Saturn Return Diaries as I do because that's how I take from there and then I put it on my stories over at Saturn Return Diaries on the gram. And literally I see a 5-star. So I don't know if you guys are rating a 5-star or if I rated myself a 5-star. I have no idea how this rating works, but regardless, that's pretty cool. I'll take it. So anyway, I just thought I'd say that. But honestly, it's amazing. I've been loving interviewing the people that have been interviewing. And I also love hearing their stories. And it's just something that honestly brings me so much joy and expansion. And I feel like I get lost in the conversations because I am just like time doesn't exist when we're chatting. So, anyway, today is a solo episode. I wanted to do a little check-in, kind of give you guys a little bit of an update on some things and where things are going to go. And then I wanted to talk about my biggest lesson that I so far have been able to kind of put into words with my own Saturn return. Because my friend Nikki asked me about this the other day. She's already been through hers and she's going to come on the podcast. But she was like, "Well, what was your biggest Saturn return?" And I just met her not that long ago because we met at work, which I've been working at a yoga studio. And anyway, so we met there and she asked me this question and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I should do this as a podcast episode." So I'm going to. But before I get into that, I want to remind everyone that you can come over to Instagram at Saturn Return Diaries, say hey to me. I have one-on-one sessions where you can book a Saturn Return Diaries reading if you want to know your transits for your Saturn return, if you want to know the exact hits of your Saturn return, if you want any guidance or support in terms of diving deeper into your Saturn return, I have those available. I'm also opening up spaces for one-on-one mentorship when it comes to your Saturn return. So these will be happening in monthly containers. You're more than welcome to come and book one of those or DM me if you have any questions. And they're here to support you because I know what it's like moving through this time of your life. So if you want support in that, definitely come on over to the gram and yeah, you can book your spot in the links below as well. So that's just some of the housekeeping that I wanted to get out of the way. But in terms of this episode, I just felt really called to share a little bit more of my journey, a little solo episode here. And what was the biggest lesson that I've sort of been able to kind of put into words to date? Now, I know I've done like little riffs here and there on these things, but I don't know, this feels more cemented. And the word isolation keeps coming up. Now, you guys, if you've been with me, if you've been following my journey on Bravely Beautiful Brand and my personal account, you probably are fully aware of how this has shown up for me. But isolation in terms of the pandemic, obviously, but I've also really kind of distanced myself from a lot of old friends. I have spent a lot of time on my own. And through that, I've been able to make like an amazing community online, which is incredible. And also, like, some people look at me and they're like, you are like not doing well. Like, you've been alone for so long. And they like put their judgments on me. And I just want to set the record straight. I have loved this time. It's been hard at points, but I have loved it. There is nothing wrong with being by yourself or being isolated for an extended period of time if that's what you want. And honestly, it's something that my soul really wanted and needed because I've been playing a character in my life that was outdated, that I needed time. I've needed time to be alone, to figure out who the hell Courtney is instead of living up to everybody else's expectations. Okay. And sometimes that happens. So when Nikki asked me, what has been like your main thing? I was like, well, definitely isolation. I have Saturn in the 12th house. Well, it cusps. Saturn for me cusps on the 11th, 12th house. And something that I think is super interesting is that, actually, let me show you guys. If you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see. I can pull this up right now and I'm going to share my chart with you. So basically, if you guys can see right here, I have Saturn at 0 degrees in the 11th house. What do we know about the 11th house? The 11th house is about community, our big goals and ideas, our dreams, the collective, sort of that bigger picture, friendships. And as I've mentioned before, 0 degrees, that's the only time I ever believe in cusps is 0 degrees. And it's not even really. But I did get some of that Capricorn Saturn and obviously the Aquarius Saturn. So as you can see, it's been in my, it's right on the edge of my 11th and 12th house in Placidus system. And yes, Pluto has been hanging over top of this area of my chart for a very long time now. But you can see there that, okay, so she has Saturn cusping on her 11th, 12th. So she definitely had this like friendship dynamic or community dynamic of the greater collective come into play. Hint, hint. And then she's had Saturn moving through her 12th house, transiting for almost, well, over 3 years now. So that's that. And what do we know about Saturn transiting in the 12th? Saturn transiting the 12th house is all about isolation. It can connect to things like, supporting others who are in isolation. So, people who maybe can't be around others, whether that's in like spaces like hospital, jails, like that's very 12th house. In this space, it can also be spirituality or things that are kind of like more esoteric, the subconscious. And honestly, as I said, I felt like, 12th house is also mental health, depression. I felt like I've really needed to be by myself in order to figure out who I truly am and how I want to show up in the world. And when Saturn moves into the first house, it's this new beginning on your body, who you are as an individual. And so I posted something the other day where it was like Rihanna, like pictures of Rihanna through Saturn through the houses. And the 12th house is like throwing out the trash. I'm like, that is so relatable. Like you have to throw out the trash of what is no longer aligned so that you can move forward into this next cosmic space in your adulthood through your Saturn return. So part of my biggest lessons have been Saturn in my 12th of isolation and being alone. Obviously, this is manifested for me in terms of, like I had said, like kind of, not being around friends that I used to hang out with anymore. Honestly, I isolated myself from them, pushed a lot of people away because I just like didn't have the energy and I didn't want to be around anyone. It sounds so selfish, and I know that. I really do. But like when I asked myself, or like, what do I feel like I need right now, is not to make plans, is not to be around other people. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? I want to be alone. I want to journal. I want to not make plans. I just want to work on my business. I just want to create. I don't want to hear other people's opinions or their ideas about what they think is best for me. And that's been a huge lesson for me as an individual, because I'm somebody who previously in the past has taken on a lot of the beliefs and opinions of others, and have shifted and changed myself, been very chameleon like to fit in and make sure that everyone likes me, which is kind of wild to think about, because I feel like that's not me now. And so shedding a lot of those layers, and because I wanted to shed those, I needed to isolate. I needed to be by myself. Insert pandemic, obviously, that made things a little easier and catapulted that journey for me. I know a lot of people through the pandemic didn't like being isolated. For me personally, it's been one of the biggest blessings, because I got to hermit without needing to explain myself. It's only within like the last year where I've kind of needed to explain that more, of like, hey, like I actually wanted to be by myself, and that's okay. Can we as a society stop with the projecting onto people of like, hey, you should be in a relationship. You should be making, you should be out, you should be doing all these things. Everyone has a different season of life. Like, STFU, let people live their goddamn lives, okay? Am I going to be in the season forever? No, but it's what I've needed. And thank God I have astrology to realize, like, I actually worked with the energy versus push against it and be even more depressed because I was pushing against what my energy needed. Capisci? I love saying that recently. Anyway, so obviously isolation has been a big piece. Partially, the outside world has kind of brought that forward for me, for a lot of people, if they choose to accept it or whatever. But I also consciously wanted that for myself and was like, this is something that I actually know I need. Then there's a deeper level to it, the isolation of others not wanting to be friends with me, or, agree with what my beliefs and values have been over the past couple years around the pandemic, and people pushing themselves away from me, deleting me off Instagram, not wanting to talk to me in person, or not wanting to be friends with me, or society pushing me out and being like, you can't go to a gym. You can't fly home to see your family. You can't go to people's houses because you're choosing to not put something in your body that we have deemed is acceptable for you to continue living and be a functioning human in society. I chose not to get that for my own personal reasons, because my body, my choice. And so because I chose not to, there was a pushing me out of society, which, as you can imagine, as brave as I want to be and as strong as I want to be, that was hard a lot of the times. That was tricky. And thank God for social media and technology, because I was able to find people who I felt were safe. And it's created a lot more of friendships that I didn't even have prior to all of this, who felt like no matter what I believed in or no matter where I stood, they loved me unconditionally, where society and the world and people who previously were in my life were not choosing to do that because of my beliefs and what I wanted for myself. So it's been a lot of interesting learning lessons and feeling the isolation from society, the isolation from old friendship groups, partially, of course, like through my own choices and also external circumstances. It's a lot on your mental health to go through all of those things. I think you can probably imagine, given the past couple of years, if you are just, a person who experienced anything during that time, which you did. On top of that, imagine, already having some pretty severe mental health experiences leading up to that, and then being ostracized from your society and communities, and continuing to stand tall and strong in that. That's Saturn returns. And it's been tricky. It's been really hard, but it's also been something that I can look back on now and be like, wow, that Courtney 5 years ago, I don't know would have had that strength or conviction to stand true in who she was and who she is. And I think that's been a big part of that. Sometimes you got to be alone for a while to realize who you are as a person and to hear your own inner voice, to hear your own inner musings, to hear what your soul is trying to say to you. Because your soul doesn't speak the same language as your mind. Your mind wants to keep you safe. Your soul wants to set you free. And sometimes being alone for an extended period of time will help you hear that a lot easier. You know, it's funny because I kept saying to people, I'm listening to my body. My body will tell me what is right. I truly believe your body is communication. It communicates to you what is right for you. And everything else in the outside world will try and tell you differently. They will try and tell you, do it this way, do it that way. And while sometimes that's needed, sometimes it's detrimental. And we've been taught to not listen to our intuition, not listen to what our body says, not listen to our soul. We've been taught to listen to our mind. We've been taught to listen to others. We've been taught to follow the crowd, to raise our hand in school, to be the good girl or good boy, or do what you're told, and then you will succeed. Follow this path and you will succeed. Maybe try being alone for a while and see if you align with that path. Because personally, I didn't. And through being alone for a while and kind of getting my head on in a way that felt authentic to me has made me realize that, like, I guess I'm a rebel. I guess I rebel against the crowd because what I want for my life isn't the same as what everyone's told me that I should have. And so being alone has taught me that, hey, I can actually do this thing. I realized how strong I am. I realized how much strength I have as an individual. I realized I can pull myself out of things. And I also realized, on the caveat to this, is how important community is and how important having people in your corner backing you up, unconditionally loving you is. That is a huge realization because you can be alone. Like, I think I'm pretty hyper independent, as I think a lot of people can be when they've experienced certain things of like, oh, well, if no one else is going to get it for me, then I'll just do it for myself. And there's power in that for sure. But there's also power in community, but it has to be community, the right community, and community that backs you up, that holds space for you, that sees you deeply as you are, and doesn't judge you for not wanting to do something different than what you want to do. That's community. That's true community. Here's a bit of a tangent. Some of you will love this. What's the difference between community and a cult? To me, a cult is you have to believe the exact same thing and do the exact same thing that I want you to do, or you don't belong here. Community is you can come as you are, believe as you want to believe, have open and honest conversations. We might not always agree. There could be arguments in that, but I will still love you unconditionally because you are welcome here as you are. That's community. And I think that when you are alone for a long time, like I was, and I was like, hey, who do I resonate with? Like, who do I have to show up? Because here's the thing, old, version of Courtney would show up in various different groups and be like, who do I have to be here? Who do I have to be here? Who do I have to be here? Let me just chameleon myself so I fit in with all of these different groups of people because that's going to mean I'm accepted. But really, it's like, who are you actually devaluing by doing that? Myself every single time. Because if I had to die down versions of myself just to fit into that group, such as this one group that I hang out with is always drinking all the time, going out on weekends. That's what I do. That's how we socialize together. But yet part of me doesn't want to do that anymore. And so what happens when I take that out? What happens when I take that element of drinking out? Does this last or does this change? Some stay the same, some friendships stay, sometimes they change, right? And so I think, again, like just circling back from my tangents here, being in your own space for a while, not only does it really bring, like, you confront some of your shit for sure, but you realize who am I? Who am I on an authentic level? Excuse me, I was trying to breathe at the same time. Who am I authentically? And who am I showing up to in these groups of people? Where am I hiding? Where am I allowing myself to be seen? Because where I allow myself to be seen, those are the community of people that I want to be in. Because they feel safe for me to be seen in. Now, something else I've learned from this, like, period of isolation is obviously as well being somebody who can see others as they want to be seen. Because, 3D world can be pretty judgmental. And I think everyone right now is really trying to find their authenticity. Hello, Chiron and Aries, Saturn and Aquarius. But it's not my job to judge somebody else based on who they want to be or who they say they are. No, it's my job to just be open and accept them and not be culty AF, and instead be community. Like, again, that's what I've learned through this period of isolation, because I know how it feels. I know how it feels to be ostracized from a larger group for being myself. That I honestly know what that feels like. I think a lot of people do in their own ways, and people want to point fingers and say, that's not being ostracized. That's not being left out. Who are you to say that? Who are you to say that if you haven't been in that situation? Anytime you are pushed out from a crowd or a group of people, when you stand up for yourself, for someone else, for something you value or believe in, and people go against that and literally push you out, that's being ostracized in some way, shape, or form. And it's not cool. It's not okay. It's not okay. So anyway, that's what I had to say on that. But honestly, isolation has taught me a lot, right? It's been beautiful. It's been a nice hermit period of time. It's allowed me to reflect and say, who is Courtney? Who do I want to be moving forward? It's allowed me to really understand the language of my intuition and what my body is trying to tell me. It's allowed me to see people in my life who really genuinely do care about me and who want to be in my life. It's allowed me to feel unconditional love and support from afar, deepen relationships, let go of relationships that no longer align. And it's shown me people who are patient and kind and loving and, who I want to continue relationships with. And then there's some that I don't want to. And I've learned that through that time as well. Isolation and being alone isn't all bad. Like, we are so scared to take these leaps and go travel on our own. We're so scared to spend weekends by ourselves. We're so resistant to time alone, because time alone makes you think. It makes you be in your head. We've been primed to be in a society, be busy, just keep busy, keep your mind busy, going through a breakup, keep busy. Oh, it's good to be busy. It's probably good to be busy if you're grieving. No, it's not, actually. F that. Yeah, okay. Sometimes for your survival, do you need to do that for a period of time? Yes, but it's going to catch up to you. And it's until you stop running from yourself and you take time alone to actually be like, who is this person that I am living in, this meat suit I'm living in, this person I'm growing with? Who is this person? when you sit and you recognize who that person is, you are going to realize a lot of shit that you didn't realize before. It's confronting and it's beautiful, and it's bravely beautiful, I should say. So I've loved it. Has it made me more introverted? Of course. Was I having panic attacks prior for weeks? Yeah. Did I need the alone time? Yeah, I did. Was I depressed? Yes. Did I need the alone time? Yes. Because guess what? Now I'm coming out of this time in my life a person who has more capacity for others, a person who has more empathy for others, more empathy and compassion for myself, more boundaries to be around and saying no to things I don't want to do. I'm sick of saying yes to shit just because I think I should do it to make everybody else happy. No, thank you. Done and done. Isolation and being alone for a period of time is not a bad thing. Do you need community? Yes. Does that community have to be in your presence? No. It can be energetically through technology, through borders. And if someone says to you, oh, no, you need to be busy or you need to be with people, that's coming from their own, that says more about them. It is more than okay to spend time by yourself. It's beautiful. It's needed. Not every season of life is going to call for it. So soak it up when you have it and dive deep into the places of yourself where you haven't been listening or you've been ignoring. That is the beauty of isolation. Can it feel lonely sometimes? Absolutely. But I'll tell you what feels more lonely: being surrounded by hundreds of people and feeling like you can't be yourself. That I know very well. And I will never go back to that because that feeling sucks. And I don't wish that for anybody. On that note, I'm going to ramp up. No, I'm going to complete my rant here and just going to put it out there that, obviously, if you're somebody who's feeling this right now, or if you have Saturn in your 12th or Saturn's going to transit your 12th, I feel you. I feel you so deeply. Go back and listen to Greg's episode. He also had Saturn in the 12th. Who else did? I think there was a couple other episodes who Diana, I think she had Saturn in the 12th. I can't remember off the top of my head. Go back and listen to them. Steph, Medium in the Middle, one of the first episodes had Saturn in the 12th. Go listen to these episodes. You're not alone. Saturn in the 12th is no freaking joke. And just know that you always can reach out to me on Instagram at Saturn Return Diaries or at at Bravely Beautiful brand on Instagram. Community is important, but so is alone time. And being around people who see you is magic. So on that note, I'm wrapping it up here. I hope to see you guys in next week's episode. Come on over. Let me know what you think. Love y'all and have a beautiful day. I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.